Night settles over the jungle the way a predator settles over its prey, slow, heavy, and deliberate. In Bigfoot vs. Man Part 4, Ethan steps into that darkness knowing he is already marked, already hunted, already half a heartbeat from becoming the next unsolved disappearance whispered about by locals and dismissed by scientists. What began as curiosity, what spiraled into survival, now descends into full-blown chaos as the forest tightens around him. This episode is not simply a continuation of the story, it is the violent culmination of everything the previous chapters have foreshadowed. The abandoned cabin materializes through the trees like a ghost from another time. Wood warped, roof sagging, windows nailed shut except for the places where nature has ripped its way in. Ethan has no choice but to take refuge here. Every minute outside puts him in striking distance of the monster he now knows is real. His lungs burn, his hands shake, but the cabin smells like old dust instead of blood, which, considering the night he has survived so far, feels like a blessing. He barricades the door with the broken remains of what was once a table. The moonlight slices through gaps in the walls, cutting the room into strips of silver and black. He presses his back against the door and listens. Every sound outside sounds like a threat. Every breath feels stolen. This episode doesn't wait long before tearing into its main event. Viewers know something is coming. Ethan knows something is coming. But the timing, sudden, vicious, earth-shaking, still lands like a punch. The first impact against the side of the cabin explodes through the silence with the force of a truck. Dust rains from the rafters. Something snarls, a sound too deep to be human, too wet to be a bear, and too furious to belong to anything that should exist. The wall boards bend as something slams again, harder, determined to break through. Ethan freezes. The forest has found him. What unfolds inside that collapsing cabin is the series' most violent confrontation yet. Bigfoot isn't just some shadowy figure in the trees anymore. It is present, enraged, and relentless. Its arms crash through the gaps in the wood with horrifying strength, groping for purchase, pulling pieces of the cabin apart like a child tearing open a gift. The boards splinter under its fists, and each blow screams the same message: you cannot hide. Ethan scrambles backward, grabbing the only weapon he has left, a flare gun he found earlier while running for his life. It isn't meant to be a weapon. It isn't meant to save him. But right now, it's all he has between life and death. The creature's eye peers through a jagged crack in the wall, bloodshot and intelligent. That is the moment Ethan realizes Bigfoot understands exactly where he is. It isn't hunting blindly, it is hunting him. The cabin groans. The roof sags. A clawed hand bursts through the door just inches from Ethan's knee. He backs up so fast he trips over an overturned chair and crashes to the floor. For a chilling second, he is directly beneath a widening hole where the roof is about to cave in. Bigfoot drags its massive weight onto the rooftop and the entire building shudders, as if begging Ethan to flee. But there is nowhere left to go. And then comes the flare gun moment, a scene guaranteed to stay burned into the memory of anyone who watches this episode. Ethan raises the gun, his hand trembling violently. The creature rears back for another strike. And as it hurls its full weight toward the corner of the cabin, splintering wood like matchsticks, Ethan fires. The flare erupts in a burst of blazing red light, engulfing the inside of the cabin and blasting straight into the creature's face. The scream that follows is unlike anything heard in the series before. It is pain. It is fury. It is ancient. The creature recoils violently, thrashing against the wreckage, its fur igniting in streaks of burning crimson. The entire cabin becomes a hellish dance of fire, shadows, and destruction. Ethan ducks under a falling beam, coughing as smoke begins to fill the small space. Bigfoot crashes blindly through the wall, howling in rage as it disappears back into the darkness of the forest. The flare has bought Ethan a few seconds. No more. But the danger does not end. If anything, the night becomes even more terrifying. As Ethan bursts out of the collapsing cabin, gasping for clean air, he hears something that chills him deeper than the attack itself, multiple roars echoing across the trees. Not one creature, not the same singular beast he has been running from since the first encounter. Several. Their calls overlap, layer upon layer, communicating, alerting one another that prey has been found. And suddenly Ethan realizes the truth. Everything until now has been a warning. The forest is not ruled by a lone monster. It is ruled by an entire family, perhaps an entire species. And now, they are awake. This reveal hits with the force of a revelation. The shadows between the trees begin to shift. Shapes move, huge, powerful silhouettes blending with the darkness but unmistakably alive. Eyes glint from the undergrowth. Branches sway as something massive moves between them, closing in. The sense of hopelessness is suffocating. The episode doesn't treat this as just another twist, it treats it as the moment Ethan finally understands the true danger he has wandered into. The chase that follows is nothing short of cinematic. The jungle seems alive, pulsing with movement, each step of Ethan's frantic sprint met with echoes of pursuit. The creatures no longer hide. They crash through brush, stomp through mud, and snap entire saplings under their weight. Ethan's flashlight jerks wildly as he runs, illuminating glimpses of fur, shapes, hands gripping tree trunks, and glowing eyes tracking him. His breath becomes ragged, his legs begin to give out. But adrenaline is a powerful force, and fear is stronger still. Every second builds toward the final sequence, the breathtaking cliff jump that has already become one of the most talked about moments in the series. Ethan bursts through a final tangle of vines and suddenly finds himself standing at the edge of a gorge so deep it swallows the moonlight. Behind him, the forest erupts with movement. Branches snap, growls converge. One of the creatures steps into view, tall, broad, covered in scars and ash from the burning flare. It is enraged. It is ready to finish what it started. Ethan glances down. The drop is impossible. The water below is a narrow ribbon of darkness, churning and violent. No one survives a leap like that. But staying is certain death. The creature lunges. Ethan takes one last breath, one last look at the monster that chased him across a nightmare of a night, and he jumps. The camera follows him down in a dizzying plunge, the wind screaming around him, the water rising like an open mouth ready to swallow him whole. When he finally hits the surface, the episode cuts to black, leaving viewers with their hearts hammering and 1,000 questions burning. What makes this episode so gripping isn't just the action, it's the atmosphere. The sound design feels like the jungle is breathing on your neck. The narration captures Ethan's desperation with chilling clarity. The visuals paint Bigfoot not as a myth, but as a primal force, violent, intelligent, and terrifyingly real. And the pacing never lets you relax, never gives you a moment to breathe, never allows you to feel safe. This is the kind of storytelling that pulls you deep into the moment, that makes you hear the branches snapping behind you, that makes you feel the cabin collapsing above your head, that makes the forest feel alive. For fans of creature legends, for horror lovers, for anyone who enjoys survival thrillers packed with tension and raw fear, Bigfoot vs. Man Part 4 is more than an episode, it is an experience. It feels like watching someone's final night on Earth. It feels like witnessing a legend step out of the shadows. It feels like standing at the edge of a cliff with no choice but to jump. And when the screen goes dark, you are left with only one question echoing in your mind: if Ethan survived the fall, will he survive what waits for him next?